everybody is now, especially truckers who drive many hours at night, are now being exposed to this very hazardous light.
Well, starting off, I just first want to get a little bit of a backstory on your foundation. Can you talk to me about when you got started and kind of how this all came about?
Yeah, so I got involved in the LED issue around 10 years ago now, so almost a decade, because there's very and powerful light. And I was having a hard time absorbing this light. I was a middle school math teacher before this LEDs came out. So when the LEDs came out on the street lights and the car headlights and the flashing lights on emergency vehicles, it was really overwhelming me. It's just too intense, and the blue rich color really is psychologically disturbing for me. So I started to get involved in trying to figure out what's going on with this new kind of a light. Um, it was so bad that I had a mental breakdown as a teacher and ended up in the hospital for 4 days. I was diagnosed with mild autism at that time. So the outshoot of that is photophobia, sensitivity to this light, any light, but I mean, nothing had ever affected me in the way LEDs do. So then I was unable to go back to work. So there was so little information out there as to why this light was so different. So you search the internet, but it wasn't coming up with much that would explain why. So I started exploring the physics issues of LEDs and trying to understand. I do have a degree in electrical engineering, so that was helpful, but I certainly am not a physicist. And then started to piece together, and then I started connecting with other people that had the same stories, such as on Facebook, and and then there are just many stories of people. So I started a web page, softlights.org. And then to raise our profile, I made it as a nonprofit. We're registered in the state of Oregon as a 501c3. So that allows us to have a presence and a formal thing. We really don't get much in the way of donations, so it's just a lot of activism.
How many members would you say you have?
Well, so we don't have a typical structure. Like, we're not really focused on the money. So there are several thousand people on the Facebook group. Over 70,000 people have signed our petition to ban blinding headlights, which is on change.org. So many of those people who have contacted me, I've added to our mailing list. So we have hundreds of people that I send out once a month now. There's two Facebook groups. We have Ban Blinding LEDs, which was not started by me, and then Soft Lights Foundation, which was. So it's in the thousands, I would say. And so we allow our supporters to say you can represent the Soft Lights Foundation if you're advocating for something, so long as you're furthering our goals. But there's no membership dues.
Um, Probably an obvious question for anyone who has driven down the road and, seen a vehicle with LED lights. What are kind of some of the biggest issues when it comes to these?
So the regulations relate to color. Color is like not really something that physics wise, that's something perception. So what they need to have is limits on what's called the spectral power distribution. Blue wavelength light is phototoxic and damaging to our eyes, and your eyes don't recover from that. So cumulatively absorb that energy, and then your cells in your eye die. So, and then the result is macular degeneration. So everybody is now, especially truckers who drive many hours at night, are now being exposed to this very hazardous light. Blue light is important for the day to control our circadian rhythms, to wake us up, to tell us when to eat, when to have energy. So it's an important wavelength, around 450 nanometers, but you don't want it at night. So anything with headlights is exactly when you don't want blue light. And so The manufacturer switched to blue light because it was cheaper to manufacture. It was easier to get more power. So the typical LED headlight has what they call a correlated color temperature of around 6,500 Kelvin. And in this is a very high number, very steep peak of blue wavelength light. It's exactly the opposite. If you were doing anything with health or safety, you would not use that. Blue light is also the most energetic, and so it's the color, the wavelength that causes the most glare. So you don't want glare. Glare is unwanted light in your eye. So that blue light comes into your eye and bounces around and doesn't go onto the retina. So you're not getting an image, you're just getting light that's impairing your vision. So scientists have known for over 100 years, 150 years that yellowish color is the right color for headlights. And we had that before with halogen or just a tungsten filament headlight. So the switch was unwarranted as far as safety, health, physics, scientific knowledge. It was just something the industry did. They never got permission from NHTSA to do it. And then NHTSA never acted to say, well, that's not a good idea.
You said you've been doing this for 10 years, a little over 10 years. How have you seen the popularity in these increase over those years?
Well, I wouldn't say that LED headlights are popular. I would say that it's exploded in terms of the manufacturers going to it. The manufacturers have controlled this, and we're supposed to have government oversight, like the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, for truckers, and NHTSA for passenger vehicles. They're supposed to control these lights and supposed to set regulations and tell these manufacturers, if you want to do something new with new technology, you make an application, submit a petition, we'll review it, we'll do our safety studies, and then we'll come back and tell you whether. That never happened. So it was just the manufacturers found a new technology. Oh, wow, this is so bright. And nobody did any of the part where they said, well, is it safe? So that's why we ended up in this situation. So manufacturers, we've contacted them, of course, and they're not responding. They sell the cars like on commercials, and you can see how the commercials have shifted in the last few years because they show the lights frequently. It's pizzazz. So they believe that they're selling excitement. That blue light is an exciting type of light. And so they show it, but it's also has the major downside is that it's dangerous.
What would you like to see happen?
Well, we talked to a lot of people. Many people will say, hey, we were perfectly happy with the halogen headlight. You have this burning tungsten filament. You have a little bit of gas inside to make it glow a little bit brighter. And they did receive a handful of complaints. I say handful. Maybe they had actually 5,000 complaints. So a little bit, even the halogen is maybe slightly too much, too blue, too intense. But generally, that's not something that the public was complaining about. So this switch to LED technology was not something that the public was clamoring for. We don't think that LED technology can really ever be fixed. You have such power coming out of such a tiny space. It's just not human compatible. If you were the only person driving and there was no other drivers or pedestrians on the road, and all you needed was pure power, LEDs are fine. But there are other people on the planet, and there are other people coming towards you, and there are people walking. And so that has to be balanced out. LEDs don't balance. So what we need is for the manufacturers to stop making this dangerous headlights. They are a defective product. So if we have over 70,000 people and thousands of comments saying, I can't see, and my life was at risk, it's a defective product. They recall cars far more, with far less reports of harm than 70,000. So that technology is defective. We need the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to do their jobs. And I have some comments about the FMCSA that I could tell you
Yeah.
in a minute. Okay. And so they're not doing their jobs. And then Congress isn't doing their job either. So I've convinced my representative, Mike Thompson in California, to write a letter and to the House Energy and Commerce Committee requesting a hearing on this issue. It should be straightforward. You have a hearing, have the explanation why you're not regulating LED headlights. But it's been an incredible struggle to get other members of Congress to sign on. We have only five other members of Congress have signed on to this letter. So we are trying to get each representative to sign, and they have all their whatever excuses. It's a simple process. So Congress needs to do, there are laws already in place. Those laws are being violated. And then they need the whole structure needs to be put in place. The other agency that's involved is the Food and Drug Administration. They regulate electromagnetic radiation from electronic products. So LEDs emit visible light. So their job is to have this knowledge to test and evaluate these kind of what things for our health, the photobiological effects, the neurological effects, psychological, hormonal. There's a lot going on. Unfortunately, the government is cutting the jobs right now at the FDA, and we actually need them to increase the jobs. It's called the Center for Devices of Radio and Radiological Health. They're the department that's in charge of this. And their job is to liaison with NHTSA. They have a team, they do these studies. That all needs to happen. Instead, it's just a free-for-all. And now we have these issues. And people like that are out at night, truckers and police officers and stuff, Uber drivers, they're really suffering. And we get a lot of comments from people saying, I can't drive at night anymore. It's too dangerous.
What would you say to our listeners who, of course, are primarily truck drivers, who are hearing this and saying, like, yes, this is a huge issue. What can I do to help? What would you say to them?
Truckers, especially, there are the organization that you mentioned earlier to contact the leadership and have them take this on as an issue. The thing with trucking is that it's a different animal because regulatory wise, there's a whole other federal agency, the FMCSA, and they do inspections. And the highway patrols in each state can pull over truckers easily to do an inspection. So we have tried to get the FMCSA to add headlight checking into the inspection stations. In most cases, aftermarket LED headlights are illegal. So the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, says that if you replace just the bulb on a headlight, that's illegal because the whole housing has to be adapted. If you replace the whole housing and the bulb and it's a 1-for-1, that whole assembly, they say it's legal, but it's still not legal. But they say it is. And if you buy new OEM, but lots of trucks are not new, right? Many trucks are old. The engine may be new, but the truck itself, and so the headlights. So inspection wise, it's quite simple. You could actually just visually look at it and say, oh, that's a blue rich light. They didn't have that before. So that is an illegal headlight. So truckers should advocate for this for themselves. Maybe they have LED headlights and they don't want their own LED headlights taken away, but they're being blinded by their compadres or their fellow truck drivers coming the other way. And so it's like a war out there that nobody wanted. It just happened, technology. So the truck drivers, I would suggest and hope that they would contact especially their organizations or the Teamsters Union, if they belong to the Teamsters, contact them, let them know that this is a real issue and it's solvable, that the Soft Lights Foundation knows exactly what's going on with the issue. So you could contact us and we'd be happy to partner with Teamsters or the IDA that we've contacted before. We would happy to partner and explain exactly what the problem is. And then the truckers could be the first to start doing these inspections and start developing the system to start fixing it. I would suggest then that halogens are better, and people still know how to make them. It's not impossible. It's a better technology. So let's take a step back from this dangerous technology and let's return to something that was safe.
If anyone listening wants more information about the Soft Lights Foundation, where can they go for that?
So our website is www.softlights.org. And if you want to sign a petition, we have a link there. You can also just search ban blinding headlights on change.org and it'll take you straight to the petition. You can sign it, you can submit comments. On our website, softlights.org, you can also do what we call an LED incident report. It doesn't have to be headlights, it can be anything with LEDs. If you feel nausea or you feel you were blinded, if you have any kind of a reaction to the LED light, you can submit a report. We submit those to the Food and Drug Administration once a month.